Okay, good morning everybody. So today's your first day where you're actually going to be composing a melody, and I know you've already gone to Edmodo, and from Edmodo you've opened this document that I loaded for you called your melody template. Don't worry that right now it says your composition and your name. In my next little movie I'm going to teach you how to change those and put in a real title for your piece and your real name. But before we get started today, just a couple of things that I wanted to show you so that you'd be able to get this document set up for you to start writing your melody. I'm sure you remember last class I made you go through that whole packet of effective composing, and we highlighted some things in there. I'm going to touch on those very, very briefly today, but know that just about everything you need is right here in this document, and you're going to be able to spend most of your class time just composing and editing and hopefully having fun. If you'll scroll down on your document, you can see that I put in some reminders for you. They're down here at the bottom of the page. The first thing that I want you to do is make sure you pick the key signature of the scale that you want. So for example, I'm going to do a G scale, and I'm going to use the key of G major for my composition example I'm going to do for you up here. And then number two, I want you to change the key signature using the key signature tool. Let me show you how to change the key signature right now, because if you've chosen a scale other than C, and that's good, remember we want diversity, you're going to need to know how to do that. So up here in the very first measure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the main tool palette, that's this one right here, and I'm going to pick the sixth item, second row, third thing over, and you can see that it's gray. That icon is called the key signature tool, and I hope you notice that right across the top here it's giving me the directions right there. Key signature tool, how do you use it? Well, you double click a measure to insert that key change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my first measure, and I'm going to tell it that I want the key of G major. The sharp keys are up. You can see here's D, A. The flat keys are down. And again, remember my example today is in G major, so I'm going to pick G major. I'm going to do that for the whole piece, measure 1 to the next key change. Well, there's not going to be a next key change, so I'll just click OK. And now you can see I have my F sharp is there, and I'm all set to write in G major. Also down here on the bottom of the page, I wrote that you need to start your melody on the keynote. For example, if you're doing C major, you want to start on a C. Well, mine's in G major, so I'm going to start on a G. I'm going to keep it real simple by starting with a quarter note, and I'm going to click there on the second line note, which is a G in the treble clef. Come back down here and just look at my reminders one more time. While you're writing your melody, I want you to consider a couple things. Number one, that you have the correct number of beats in each measure. Number two, you use forms of imitation. Sequence, we talked about variation, or retrograde, which means to do things backwards. The third thing, your first four measures are a phrase. Your second four measures would be a new phrase. And that I would like you to use the KISS principle. Keep it simple, student. In other words, don't write things that you don't really understand. Try to keep it as simple as possible. I want you to also notice I've given you here 8 measures plus 8 more. This assignment really, guys, was only for 8 measures, but I found that a lot of people want a little bit more, maybe to finish off their ideas. You're welcome to use more, but really the requirement is for 8 measures. Okay, I'm ready to keep going. I'm going to keep composing, and this is where you can just kind of get creative. I've decided I'm going to maybe do some eighth notes, and I'm going to go maybe up the scale a little bit. And maybe how about some 16th notes, and I'm going to skip around. I'm going to go up to a D, back down to a B. I'm going to do that a couple times, just sort of repeat that idea, and I think I'm going to finish on a quarter note on C. I'd like to hear what I've got so far, so I'm going to extend the playback tools by hitting this arrow, making sure my human playback style is none, and it is, so it won't crash. Rewind to the beginning and press play. Here's what I have. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. If I wasn't, I could use the eraser tool to edit it, or when the note's purple, you can use the arrow keys to move it around if you want to change some notes, or just erase the whole measure and start over. You're welcome to do that too. I'm going to create a sequence right now of my first measure by picking a quarter note again, just like I did in this first one, but I'm going to do it a little bit higher. This time I'm going to start on A, and I'm going to do 8th note B, C, 16th note E, C, and so what I've done is I've taken the same musical ideas and just done them a bit higher, and you're going to hear that that sequence gives us a pretty nice result. I'm going to start from the measure 1, the very beginning, And already my piece sounds like it's sort of fits together. It sounds like it belongs together by imitating myself. You don't always have to do imitation. You obviously can do some different things. Maybe I want to start a downward scale. Skip down a little bit. Now I've created kind of a mini sequence. And I'm going to finish off my first phrase with a upward kind of thing. And again, I'm just playing. Maybe I'm going to listen to this and say, I don't like that, but I'm going to listen to it and decide, how does it sound so far? And that's a good ending for a phrase 1. You notice I wrote a longer note at the end of that phrase to give it some finality, some like, okay, we're done with the first phrase. All right, guys, that's all I want to say for now. Go ahead, compose, have fun. You have the whole period. Remember, you're looking for 8 measures, but you're welcome to use more if you'd like. Thanks, that's it.